Good afternoon, Patriot pals. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. I watch Bill Maher. He's great sometimes, right? He actually is very interesting lately. A lot more critique of the Democratic Party. And I used to really love him, then I couldn't stand him because he was just anti-Trump. And I was watching his latest segment episode with Kellyanne Conway, and they very accomplished, a highly respected liberal journalist. And here's the issue. Mike Pence never testified, nor will he testify at the congressional panel at the January hearings. He's not going to, because what Bill Maher, and that journalist and everyone is saying and Liz Cheney and McKinsey are saying about what Trump has had allegedly stated is not true. You cannot accuse somebody of saying something without any evidence. There's no tape recording, there's no transcript, there's no nothing. They don't do that with mashed potato brains. Joe, they don't do that with Hillary. They didn't do that with President Obama. They didn't do that with Bill Clinton. He lied under oath. So they don't with Democrats. They don't say, hey, you know what? They're capable of anything. Hunter with his emails that we couldn't talk about 2 years ago, because Twitter wouldn't allow us to, and social media algorithms, the actual truth within those emails, with people asking Hunter, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? And Hunter saying, he gives 10%. To Joe. We can tell we didn't talk about that 2 years ago. But no, they're not capable of anything. They're not capable of accepting money from foreign governments or from billionaires or from shady and corrupt individuals. We can't be suspicious. We can attribute quotes to Hunter or Joe or Hillary or President Obama or anyone of the Democratic Party side. We can't say, well, when Bill Clinton and Loretta Lynch met, an anonymous source, somebody close, somebody at the meeting stated that Vates said this or that. Bill Clinton asked Attorney General Loretta Lynch for a big favor, or Attorney General Loretta Lynch said this. No, we can't even speculate. But with Trump, somebody said he said something. So therefore that's American politics. Now, whatever Trump is alleged to have stated, we should indict him and then go Maurice thing, we shouldn't run again. It's just not enough to stop him from running, or sorry. 73 million Americans want a great economy. Fact, we had a great economy. Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. He signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. We had hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. He negotiated the Doha Agreement that Biden completely and utterly botched. Those 13 Americans shouldn't be alive today. And there's over 100 Afghans should be alive today. It stated that May 1st withdrawal, mashed potato brains, Joe said, we'll just go ahead whenever we want to. We'll just withdraw any date. And he was agreed upon May 1st. Okay. Trump not only negotiated the Doha Agreement to remove Americans from our longest-running military conflict ever, but he's opposed by the Lincoln Project, the Bush, Cheney and Rumsfeld people, which is exactly why a great percentage of voters, including myself, voted for Donald Trump. We don't want never-ending military conflict, which is Democrats are just fine with that. They're just fine with that. They don't care that the parties had been reversed on that issue. And if foreign policy is your main issue, then you vote for Trump. Foreign policy is horrendous, but economic, we can get to that in a second. Abraham Accords. Getting back to foreign part of Abraham Accords, Trump negotiated first president to step foot in North Korea. We had a 2% inflation or so, gas prices under $3. GDP growth before his last year, and Democrats in media and elected officials and bureaucrats said we have to end economic activity. And Trump said no, it's too soon. Trump said we shouldn't, we should restart the economy, and they said no, it's too soon. Too soon. Experts say too soon. And then they blamed Trump when Andrew Cuomo and a whole bunch of other people have the same quotes regarding you know what? And when Trump told German officials, hey, you know what? You're going to be beholden to oil and gas from a certain country. They laughed at him. We can go down the list. They said Trump cleared Lafayette Square. He's an authoritarian. Not true. They said Donald Trump Jr. got worried about emails. Not true. There's like a whole list of things that were in true, whole of endless articles talking about former current U.S. officials, and the people who said hundreds emails were a plot by another country not true. The DNC cheated Bernie Sanders, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and others were forced to resign. But you don't hear any outrage saying, well, you know what, let's prevent a certain Democrat from running. To the contrary, I want Hillary Clinton to be nominee again. I want a Clinton Trump 2024, or a clever Hillary DeSantis 2024 for a number of reasons that I've stated, because we need to read in 2016. But what is this nonsense? He's not testifying? Okay. Pence isn't testifying because he didn't say, because Trump did not say those things. If in some, if it actually took place where he said it in passing, where he was just upset, where it was like a crude joke. That's not, I don't condone that. But that's not criminal behavior. Nor did he organize any plot. He wasn't indicted or charged in a court of law for what took place. He's going to end up suing Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, and maybe other people on that panel. They're not indicting or charging the president, former president, for anything. And they're fabricating quotes. That's what they're doing now. They have nothing, they're running on fumes. But he didn't say American politics is dysfunctional enough, you can't then now fabricate quotes. Trump never said, both sides, meaning the 1930s and 1940s Germans, he condemned them literally knew 3 times within at least 2 times within the transcript. He was talking about conservatives who wanted to keep statutes up. Now, if you're trying to equate those types of people with the 1930s, 1940s Germans, that's your own argument there. But he wasn't saying, well, both sides, that meaning praising or saying that there's good people within the most despicable monsters that have ever lived? No, he didn't say those things. He didn't say the media, the apoplectic and hysterical media coverage where they're literally making things up about Trump. He had not indicted him, charge him with something. Tax returns he couldn't charge, and they found it was supposed to be the epicenter of corruption. Its tax returns are supposed to be the epicenter of corruption. And Bill Maher and the liberal journalist Oil, he should be banned from running for what? They couldn't find anything in his tax returns. The Mueller probe found nothing, literally nothing. Yes, it's true that Trump benefited from the DNC emails, and from Clinton's deleted emails, and from the emails showing the Debbie Wasserman Schultz forcing Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign and other DNC officials because they cheated Bernie Sanders. They don't even have a functioning primary. And then they pontificate about democracy. Gee, you think maybe that would help Trump? Yeah, I think it would. Of course, the corruption within the Democratic Party helps anyone opposing the but you can't spin it and say, well, the Mueller probe found that so much corruption, or know that the Kremlin was pushing for one candidate, because it will help Trump. Well, of course. The DNC emails help Trump. It's corruption within the Democratic Party. You can't blame Trump for, getting votes because of that corruption. Nobody was charged with conspiring alongside a Kremlin operative. Julian Assange should be free. He wasn't charged with conspiring alongside a Russian operative, and that's the narrative from Clapper and Brennan, whose ODNI and DHS reports come with high to moderate confidence assessment. So nobody was indicted or charged on conspiring alongside if the Kremlin to interfere in 2016 his tax returns didn't lead to any indictments. They say, okay, Georgia and the Southern District of New York then indict him. He said this and he said bad and he was trying to find this and find that and then charge him with a crime. If you don't like his personality, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you don't like Trump's personality. That's 5-6 years ago. It's done. It's over with. Get over. He insults people. He believes people. He was a victim of Comey. Strzok became Clapper. Brennan, media pumping a dossier, a Steele dossier? Do you think that your Giuliani and Trump could compile a Steele dossier on Joe or Hunter? Has his actually emails worse? With pictures and videos? Everything's worse? Nobody cares. But in the pay-to-play schemes. But do you think that Trump could purchase a dossier and funnel it through his own bureau, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or his own intelligence agencies to go after an incoming Democrat? They would never allow it in a million years. You think BuzzFeed would then publish the Steele dossier? No. They would say, well, this is obviously was purchased by his direct political rival, but nobody knows this on the left. Bill Maher is an extremely intelligent, very He's very knowledgeable about politics. If you ask them just basic questions, easy questions regarding the sealed steel dossier, he wouldn't answer, you wouldn't know. He probably wouldn't know was purchased by Clinton, or the Alpha Bank story that was funneled, that were assessment funneled false information into the Federal Bureau of Investigation and actually texted that he was coming on behalf of himself and visiting, not on behalf of a client. His client was Clinton. The DC jury said, of course, he wasn't deceiving James Baker, the top legal counsel. So we were going to acquit him. But the fact that the jury said, hey, everyone within the Federal Bureau of Investigation was in on it, points to a much wider issue, which is why the Durham probe special counsel gained a lot more from the testimony than any possible conviction. But see, again, it's like they will never allow the way media handles Trump, the way intelligence agencies with high to moderate confidence. So let's just go ahead and investigate, start a special counsel because Comey has memos. You think if the tables were turned, and it's a government official, fired by a Democratic president, that they would start a special counsel? Because of the disgruntled memos of some official that a Democrat fired? No, nothing. You flip everything around. They would never get away with it. They would just simply say, well, you can't prove anything. That's what they do. Uranium sale, everything. You can't prove it. Correlation doesn't equal causation. And so, Trump was a great president. He didn't just listen, without any reservation, or without any hesitation, to non-governmental multinational organizations, but ending economic activity for a year and a half. Now we have record highs in inflation. They want to prevent Trump from running. But Pence is not going to testify because at the end of the day, Trump never committed a crime against Pence ever. It never happened. And so you had people that shouldn't. I condemn what took place in January, but 2 years ago. But do you think Bill Maher or anyone else on the left, or that liberal journalist or anyone else, condemns a whole summer of endless chaos and mayhem? I agree that the reason for the demonstrations were important, but $1 to $2 billion in property damage, over 19 lives lost according to Wikipedia. Do you think that's okay? And when Democrats looked the other way, media said, well, it's mostly peaceful. If you want to use that logic, then it was mostly peaceful that they also bet Cheney and Kinzinger, or this is for like the book deal. After, this is not about principle. This is the dishonor is what's taking place now, focusing on one day, but we're just horrendous and ignoring an entire summer of property damage and chaos and mayhem in buildings set in flames, and CNN journalist right in front of a building set in flames behind him. It's me, mostly peaceful. That's the dishonor. How many lives were ruined? For when people, it's a good cause, but how are you gonna ruin people's lives for a good cause? You're gonna destroy property, wouldn't you? Don't want your property destroyed, that's for sure, no matter what the cause is, but if it's another person's property, that's different. So the hypocrisy is unbelievable. Right now, Pence is not testifying, and he never will, because Trump didn't commit a crime. And it's exactly the opposite of what Bill Maher and his guests were trying to prove. Well, we should ban Trump from going again. For what? For what purpose? Because he's mean. We had a much better country under Trump than we do now. Categorically. Both in terms of the economy, without a doubt, and foreign policy. I haven't even gotten to foreign policy yet. There's a reason that Democrats don't want anything to do with a negotiated settlement or some kind of negotiated deal. The geopolitical nightmare in Europe. Thank you so much for listening. God bless. I'll be back soon with another report. God speak to each and every one of you. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for all of your kind words.